In previous episodes, Sho and his friends are lured into a race by a mysterious voice in X City's ruins. They confront Kuro, who employs forbidden techniques, making the race perilous. Despite Kuro's cheating, Sho taps into his hidden strength, executing an Idaten miracle jump to match Kuro's dark energy. However, victory is overshadowed by Kuro's revelation about Shadow X, the malevolent force responsible for X City's downfall. Determined to find their missing allies and confront Shadow X, Sho and his friends face a daunting challenge. Meanwhile, within X City's depths, Raya, the leader of Shadow X, orders his ruthless enforcer, Takutso, to eliminate Sho and his companions. As the episode concludes, Sho and his friends realize the gravity of the situation and vow to uncover the truth behind Shadow X's intentions. Their resolve is tested as they embark on a journey deeper into X City, knowing that the fate of their loved ones and the city itself hangs in the balance. Despite the uncertainty, they remain united in their determination to confront Shadow X and bring an end to the chaos. Despite their fears, Sho and his friends vow to press forward. They recognize that finding Misuki and Kyoichi is their top priority. With determination and unity, they embark on a journey deeper into X City, ready to confront Shadow X and uncover the truth. As they brace themselves for the trials ahead, Sho and his friends steel their hearts, ready to face whatever challenges await them in their quest for justice and redemption.
Episode 5: The Secret of Shadow X.
The acrid scent of smoldering metal hung heavy in the air as Sho, Makoto, Ayumu, Gabu, and Kakeru navigated the desolate landscape of X City. Buildings, once vibrant testaments to human ingenuity, now stood as skeletal husks, their windows mere vacant stares into oblivion. Sho, ever the optimist, scanned the wreckage with a determined glint in his eye. A flicker of movement caught his attention, a lone red scarf snagged on a twisted steel beam atop a crumbling edifice. Hope surged through him. Could it be? Hey, guys! Sho called out, pointing towards the building. Check that out! A collective groan rippled through the group. Seriously, Sho? Ayumu sighed, weariness etched on his face. Don't tell me you want to explore another abandoned building. Makoto, ever the voice of reason, chimed in. He's right, Sho. It's dangerous. These structures could collapse at any moment. Gabu, the ever impatient one, scoffed. Come on, weaklings. A little danger never hurt anyone. Besides, I wouldn't mind running into another one of those Shadow X goons. A good race would liven things up. Kakeru, the quiet observer of the group, remained silent, his gaze fixed on the crimson scarf. An unspoken understanding flickered between him and Sho. They both knew the significance of the color. Sensing their unspoken bond, Ayumu rolled his eyes. Of course, he muttered, 2 peas in a pod. A mischievous grin spread across Sho's face. Well, you don't have to come, he teased, but suit yourselves. I'm checking it out. With a determined stride, Sho made his way towards the building. Kakeru followed without a word. Makoto, torn between worry and a similar sense of urgency, hesitated for a moment before catching up with them. Ayumu, with a resigned sigh, followed suit, leaving Gabu fuming in their wake. Fine, Gabu grumbled, kicking a piece of rubble. Go play explorers. But don't expect me to wait around all day for you. As Sho and his companions approached the building, the silence was broken by an ominous groan, the rusted metal beams protesting the weight of their years. Undeterred, Sho reached for a handhold, his eyes scanning the wall for a safe entry point. Stepping through a gaping hole in the wall, Sho and his friends found themselves in a cavernous hall. Contrary to the desolate exterior, the interior was bathed in an ethereal glow, emanating from strange, bioluminescent plants clinging to the walls. The air hung heavy with the musky scent of damp earth and forgotten time. The hall itself was a marvel of forgotten technology. Gleaming chrome panels, etched with intricate symbols, lined the walls. In the center, a holographic display flickered to life, projecting a 3-dimensional map of X City in its former glory. Awestruck silence descended upon the group. Whoa! Ayumu breathed, his voice barely a whisper. This wasn't just any abandoned building. It was a capsule of a bygone era, a testament to X-City's technological prowess. Sho, his gaze glued to the holographic map, traced the familiar streets with his finger. A flicker of hope ignited within him. Perhaps, somewhere in this forgotten archive, they could find a clue, a lead that would bring them closer to Indy. As they ventured deeper into the building, their exploration led him down winding corridors and into smaller chambers. The air grew cooler, and the bioluminescent glow dimmed, casting long, eerie shadows. Suddenly, Makoto let out a startled yelp, jumping back with a comical flail of his arms. A sleek black cat, startled by their intrusion, arched its back and hissed, its emerald eyes gleaming in the dim light. The group burst into laughter, the tension momentarily broken. Seriously, Makoto? Ayumu chuckled, wiping a tear from his eye. You scared of a little cat? Makoto blushed, sheepishly rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't expect it to just jump out like that, he stammered. Sho, ever the mediator, patted Makoto on the shoulder. Relax, Makoto. It's just a cat. Besides, who knows? Maybe it can lead us somewhere interesting. Little did they know, their laughter echoed through a hidden ventilation shaft, reaching the keen ears of Takutso, a loyal servant of Lord Ryo. Perched in the shadows, his crimson eyes narrowed as he watched Sho and his companions through the grate. So this is the legendary rider, Sho Yamato, he murmured to himself, a sly smile twisting his lips. Well, this might just be more interesting than I anticipated. The scene shifted back to Sho and his friends, oblivious to the unseen eyes watching their every move. Their exploration continued, the weight of an unseen gaze settling upon them as they delved deeper into the secrets of the abandoned building. Pushing open a heavy wooden door, Sho and his friends gasped in surprise. The room within looked untouched by time. A massive oak table, polished to a gleam, stretched across the center, surrounded by plush armchairs upholstered in a faded crimson fabric. Crystal plates and silverware gleamed under the bioluminescent glow, remnants of a long-forgotten feast. Wow, Ayumu breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. It's almost like they just got up and left. His gaze swept across the room, taking in the meticulously folded napkins and the single, half-eaten apple lying on a plate. It painted a vivid picture of an interrupted meal, a sudden tragedy that had left everything perfectly preserved. A tense silence settled over the group. The pristine state of the room felt unsettling, a stark contrast to the decaying exterior. Suddenly, a deep laugh broke the silence. It was Kakeru, a rare occurrence that surprised them all. You know, he chuckled, his voice echoing in the cavernous room, this reminds me of that old joke about the... He began to recount the joke, his voice filled with a nervous energy that contrasted with his usual stoic demeanor. As he spoke, the others relaxed, allowing the sound of his laughter to wash away some of the tension. The moment of camaraderie was a welcome respite. Their light-hearted mood soon faded as they continued their search. Drawers yielded nothing but moth-eaten clothes, and the cupboards were bare. Frustration began to gnaw at Sho. They had found nothing of value so far. Then, a faint line etched into the dusty floor caught Sho's eye. It ran diagonally across the room, dividing it into two distinct sections. Hey, guys, he called out, pointing towards the line. Check this out. Makoto approached cautiously, his brow furrowed. Be careful, Sho, he warned. It could be some kind of trap. Sho nodded, his gaze unwavering. Driven by an unseen force, he took a tentative step across the line. Nothing happened. He took another, then another, until he reached the opposite side. Still, nothing. Just as he was about to turn and beckon his friends to join him, a sudden, high-pitched sound pierced the air. It was the unmistakable pop of a balloon. A shower of confetti rained down, covering Sho in a papery snowstorm. He burst out laughing, the surprise dissipating the tension that had gripped him. Ayumu, Gabu, and Kakeru, witnessing his predicament, joined in, their laughter echoing through the room. Emboldened by the harmless prank, Ayumu stepped across the line, followed by Gabu. But as Kakeru prepared to join him, the unexpected happened. With a deafening groan, the section of the floor marked by the white line gave way. Ayumu, Gabu, and a startled Makoto tumbled through the gaping hole, disappearing into the darkness below. Sho's laughter died in his throat. His heart hammered in his chest as he peered down into the abyss. The darkness below seemed to mock him, swallowing his friends whole. In that moment, the air crackled with a sense of dread. Disoriented and groaning, Sho blinked his eyes open. The world came into focus slowly, revealing a damp, dark dungeon. The air hung heavy with the smell of mildew and stale earth. Torches sputtered along the walls, casting long, flickering shadows that danced menacingly across the rough-hewn stone. Ugh! Ayumu groaned, pushing himself up from the cold floor. Where are we? Looks like some kind of dungeon, Makoto coughed, rubbing the dust from his clothes. Gabu, ever the brash one, scanned the room with a narrowed gaze. Hey, Sho, you see anything down here? Sho, his mind racing with 100 questions, remained silent. His gaze darted around the cavernous space, searching for any sign of their captors or a way out. Suddenly, a flicker of movement at the far end of the dungeon caught his eye. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its form obscured by the flickering torchlight. The figure rolled towards them on a sleek, dark mountain bike, its wheels crunching on the gravelly floor. A tense silence descended upon the group. Fear prickled at Sho's skin. Who was this mysterious figure, and what did they want? As the figure drew closer, the light from a nearby torch illuminated a sharp, angular face with a cruel smile twisting the lips. Crimson eyes, gleaming with a predatory glint, locked onto Sho. Well, the figure chuckled, his voice a chilling rasp. Sho Yamato himself. Finally, we meet. Sho narrowed his eyes. Who are you? He demanded, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. The figure threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the dungeon. The name's Takutso, he rasped, a descendant of the great Shadow X clan. And I, he continued, his eyes flashing with a menacing glint, am here to challenge you, Sho Yamato, to an Idaten battle. Gabu, his temper flaring, stepped forward, his fists clenched. Battle with me, you Shadow X scum, he roared. My bloody fang is more than enough for your likes. Takutso's smile widened, revealing a row of sharp teeth. Oh, but I'm not interested in racing. Not yet, he drawled, his voice dripping with amusement. No, I only have one thing on my mind, the platinum emblem. He flicked his gaze towards Sho, his eyes gleaming with avarice. I don't have time to waste on useless battles, he scoffed, his gaze sweeping dismissively over Gabu and the others. Gabu bristled, about to retort, but Sho held up a hand, silencing him. A sense of foreboding washed over him. This was not a simple challenge. It was a trap. So, Takutso continued, leaning forward on his bike, his voice laced with a dangerous edge, what do you say, Sho Yamato? Ready to accept my challenge or too scared? Makoto and Ayumu exchanged worried glances. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Kakeru remained silent, his expression unreadable, but a flicker of determination burned in his eyes. Sho took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He knew this could be a trap, but he couldn't back down. Not with the fate of the platinum emblem hanging in the balance. All right, he said, his voice firm despite the knot of apprehension in his stomach. I accept your challenge. A triumphant cackle erupted from Takutso's throat. Excellent choice, he roared, the sound echoing through the dungeon. But be warned, Sho Yamato, he continued, his voice dropping to a low growl, I won't be easily defeated. This race will be your undoing. The air crackled with anticipation. The fate of the platinum emblem, and perhaps their very freedom, hung in the balance as Sho and his friends found themselves trapped in a deadly game orchestrated by a cunning descendant of Shadow X. A triumphant glint flashed in Takutso's crimson eyes as Sho accepted the challenge. With a flourish, he reached down and flipped a hidden switch on his mountain bike. A low rumble filled the dungeon, and the walls groaned in protest. As the tremors subsided, the room shifted, revealing a sight that left Sho and his friends speechless. Where the cold, damp stone floor had been moments ago, now lay a sprawling, multi-tiered racecourse. Glowing metal tracks snaked through the cavern, crisscrossing over each other in a dizzying display of engineering marvel. In the center of the course, a single, active metro train track sliced through the heart of the arena, its electrified rails humming with a deadly promise. "Welcome to my little game," Takutso purred, his voice dripping with sadistic amusement. "The rules are simple. First one to reach the finish line wins. But," he continued, his smile widening into a cruel grin, "be warned. That little track in the center is still very much operational. I wouldn't want you to get, well, let's just say a train wouldn't be kind to your fancy Idaten cycle." Sho swallowed hard, a wave of nausea washing over him. This was far more dangerous than he had anticipated. But there was no turning back now. He had to protect the platinum emblem. Silence filled the dungeon, thick with tension. The only sound was the distant rumble of an approaching train. 4 minutes stretched into an eternity as Sho and his friends stood frozen, taking in the treacherous course before them. Finally, Kakeru stepped forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Sho," he said, his eyes filled with concern, "I've made some modifications to your tires. They should be able to handle the train tracks for short bursts, but be careful." Sho nodded, a flicker of gratitude warming his heart despite the dire situation. He looked at Takutso, his gaze unwavering. "I'm ready," he declared, his voice firm with determination. Takutso threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the dungeon. "Excellent," he roared. "Then let's see what you're made of, Sho Yamato." Both riders mounted their cycles, the air crackling with anticipation. Sho closed his eyes, focusing on the fiery spirit within him. "Fire up, Flame Kaiser," he roared. A surge of energy coursed through him, and his Idaten cycle roared to life, its form shifting into the sleek, aerodynamic machine known as Flame Kaiser. Taking a deep breath, Sho braced himself. He glanced at Kakeru, a silent vow of victory passing between them. Then, with a determined shout, he roared, "Idaten go!" A blinding flash of light filled the dungeon as Sho and Takutso surged forward, their Idaten cycles leaving streaks of fire in their wake. The race had begun, and the fate of the platinum emblem, and possibly their lives, hung in the balance as they hurtled towards an uncertain finish line on a deadly course. The race erupted into a blistering blur of speed and strategy. Sho, fueled by a burning determination to protect the platinum emblem, pushed Flame Kaiser to its limits. He weaved through the intricate course, his body a perfect extension of the machine, anticipating each turn and jump. Takutso, a skilled rider himself, kept pace with Sho, a dark mirror image in his sleek, customized Idaten cycle. The air crackled with the intensity of their rivalry, their tires spitting sparks as they scraped against the metal tracks. As the race entered its final stretch, the single, electrified railway track loomed large. Both riders, adrenaline coursing through their veins, took a daring leap of faith, launching themselves onto the precarious track. Their wheels spun furiously, finding purchase on the sleepers as they raced side by side. Suddenly, the dungeon plunged into darkness. Takutso, with a maniacal laugh, had triggered a hidden switch, disabling the torches. "Ha ha," he taunted, his voice echoing in the blackness. "Let's see how you survive now, Sho Yamato." Sho cursed under his breath. The darkness disoriented him, momentarily hindering his progress. With a quick flick of his wrist, he activated the powerful searchlight mounted on Flame Kaiser's handlebars. A beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing the metal tracks ahead. He could hear Takutso's mocking laughter somewhere in the darkness, but not see him. Confusion clouded Sho's mind. How could Takutso navigate the treacherous track so flawlessly without a light? Then, a memory sparked in his mind. It was the Idaten Championship, the face-off against Shadow X. He remembered seeing Shadow use the sleepers, the wooden ties beneath the rails, to propel himself silently down the track. A grin spread across Sho's face despite the darkness. "So that's your trick, Takutso," he shouted, his voice echoing eerily. With a daring maneuver, he flipped Flame Kaiser onto the top of the sleepers, his wheels finding purchase on the rough-hewn wood. Silence fell upon the dungeon, broken only by the rhythmic hum of Sho's tires against the sleepers. Takutso, his laughter abruptly cut short, was thrown into a state of confusion. How could Sho navigate the track without light, let alone maintain such speed? Panic started to creep into Takuto's voice as he fumbled through the darkness. How did you know? He stammered, his voice laced with a newfound fear. That trick, only the Shadow X know it. Sho, his confidence renewed, pumped his legs harder, pushing Flame Kaiser to its maximum velocity. Experience, Takuto, he roared back, his voice filled with determination. You underestimate the power of experience. In a flash of blinding light, Sho surged forward, leaving Takuto trailing behind in the darkness. Sho's muscles burned with exertion as he fought against the relentless assault of Takuto's team. Each member seemed to anticipate his every move, blocking his path and trying to force him into a collision with the electrified rails. His vision blurred with sweat and strain, the constant harassment gnawing at his focus. Suddenly, Takuto's triumphant laughter echoed through the darkness. Ha ha, he roared, you'll never defeat us all, Sho Yamato. Give up. But just as Sho felt despair creeping in, a blinding flash of light erupted from the other side of the track. A figure, radiating pure determination, materialized from the darkness. It was Kyoichi, his Idaten cycle humming with power. Sho, Kyoichi's voice boomed through the cavern. Focus on your race, I'll handle these goons. With a flick of his wrist, Kyoichi unleashed a powerful energy wave. The force slammed into the 4 members of Takuto's team, sending them sprawling onto the tracks with a chorus of surprised yelps. Sho, his spirits lifted by Kyoichi's sudden intervention, stared at his old friend in disbelief. Kyoichi, but, what are you doing here? He stammered, his voice raw with exhaustion. Kyoichi flashed him a quick grin. Don't worry about it, Sho. Just go win that race. Leave these losers to me. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, he called out, come on then, slowpokes. Think you can catch the wind, ninja? Before any of the stunned members could react, Kyoichi darted away, his cycle a blur of blue and white. The 4 riders, cursing under their breath, scrambled to their feet and gave chase, disappearing down another branch of the multi-tiered course. The race was back on track. Only Sho and Takuto remained, the battlefield divided by a wall of metal. Takuto, his smug expression replaced by a scowl, glared at Sho from across the divide. Well, this changes things, he growled, the sound distorted by the metal wall. Sho, his chest heaving with renewed determination, took a deep breath. Thanks, Kyoichi, he whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. Then, with a steely glint in his eyes, he turned towards Takuto. Now, let's finish this. He roared, pushing Flame Kaiser to its limits as they both surged forward, the fate of the race hanging in the balance. A mischievous grin spread across Kyoichi's face as he saw the 4 bewildered members of Takuto's team hot on his tail. Fools, he muttered under his breath, chasing me like mindless drones. I'll give them a show they won't forget. One of the members, a hulking brute named Bruiser, growled in frustration. Get back here, Winged Ninja. You've ruined our plan, Kyoichi chuckled as he pushed his Idaten cycle to its limits, leaving the brutes in the dust. He approached a narrow bridge spanning a seemingly bottomless chasm. The bridge looked barely wide enough for a single bike, let alone 5. This should be entertaining, Kyoichi thought, a glint of playful defiance in his eyes. Reaching the bridge, he didn't slow down. Instead, with a powerful burst of speed, he launched into a daring bunny hop. His wheels barely grazed the bridge's edge as he soared through the air, landing gracefully on the other side with a triumphant flourish. The 4 members, caught off guard by Kyoichi's maneuver, slammed on their brakes, skidding to a halt right at the edge of the bridge. They peered down into the inky blackness below, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and fury. He jumped it. One of them stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Before they could react further, a surge of energy crackled in the air. With a blinding flash of blue light, Kyoichi's Idaten cycle transformed, morphing into the majestic Thunder Emperor. "Oh, you want a show?" Kyoichi boomed, his voice filled with an almost playful menace. "Here you go." He aimed a blast from Thunder Emperor's signature weapon, a crackling beam of pure lightning. The energy struck the bridge with a deafening crack, causing it to crumble and disintegrate in a shower of sparks and debris. The 4 members, caught on the collapsing bridge, let out terrified screams as they plummeted towards the dark abyss below. Kyoichi watched with a satisfied smirk as they disappeared into the swirling depths, the sound of their splashes echoing through the cavern. "Fools," he muttered, shaking his head. They underestimated the power of the Wind Ninja and the Thunder Emperor. With a triumphant laugh, Kyoichi sped off along the track, leaving a trail of destruction and a message etched in the darkness: "Don't mess with the Wind Ninja." The roar of their engines echoed through the cavern as Sho and Takutso battled neck and neck. Each turn, each jump, they pushed their limits, the finish line tantalizingly close. Suddenly, a blinding light filled their vision as a speeding metro train hurtled towards them on the shared track. Takutso, with a practiced maneuver, flipped his Idaten cycle onto a side track, narrowly avoiding the oncoming locomotive. But Sho, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the train, panicked. He slammed on his brakes, the tires screeching against the metal rails. Time seemed to slow down as the train loomed ever closer. Just as it seemed like a collision was inevitable, Sho made a desperate move. With a surge of adrenaline, he launched himself into the air, his Idaten cycle morphing back into its regular form as he did. He landed with a thud on the roof of the speeding train, narrowly escaping the jaws of danger. Scrambling to his feet, he glanced back at Takutso, who was already pulling ahead on the track with a mocking laugh. "You can't escape me, Sho Yamato," Takutso taunted, his voice echoing down the tunnel. "This race is mine." Gritting his teeth, Sho knew he had to act fast. This wasn't just about winning the race anymore. It was about protecting the Platinum Emblem and everything it represented. A surge of determination washed over him. "Enough," he roared, defiance burning in his eyes. With a blinding flash of light, a powerful energy surged through Sho's body. The energy flowed into Flame Kaiser, causing it to shimmer with an otherworldly glow. A surge of newfound power coursed through him. "Let's do it, Flame Kaiser," he shouted, his voice filled with renewed confidence. Flame Kaiser roared to life, responding to his call. With a burst of unparalleled speed, Sho shot past Takutso, leaving a trail of blazing light in his wake. Takutso, momentarily stunned by this sudden display of power, could only watch in disbelief as Sho surged towards the finish line. Sho felt invincible. He steered Flame Kaiser with newfound precision, navigating the treacherous course with effortless grace. As he crossed the finish line, a wave of relief and exhilaration washed over him. He had done it. He had defeated Takutso and protected the Platinum Emblem. Takutso, defeated and utterly bewildered, sputtered to a stop behind him. How did you do that?" he stammered, his voice laced with disbelief. Sho, a triumphant smile playing on his lips, dismounted from his Idaten cycle. "Don't underestimate the power of determination, Takutso," he declared. "And never forget, there's always something new to learn, even for an experienced rider." Relief and exhaustion mingled in the air as the dust settled around Sho and Kyoichi. The race was over, and they had emerged victorious. Their breaths came out in ragged gasps as they approached the defeated Takutso. "All right, Takutso," Sho started, his voice firm yet respectful. "Who is the leader of this Shadow X team you work for?" Takutso, defeated but not broken, glared at them for a moment before spitting out, "Lord Raya. He lives in the mountains near X City with his followers." He paused, then reached inside his jacket and withdrew a dark, metallic emblem, a twisted version of the platinum emblem. "Here," he growled, tossing it towards Sho. "Next time, I won't let you win so easily." Sho caught the emblem easily, its dark energy a stark contrast to the radiant glow of his own. With a curt nod to acknowledge Takutso's words, he scanned the area. "How do we get out of this place?" A wry smile played on Takutso's lips. "There's a hidden passage on the east side. You'll figure it out." He then turned his back on him, his dark Idaten cycle materializing with a flicker. With a final glare towards Sho and Kyoichi, he sped away, disappearing into the shadows of the tunnel. Silence fell upon him for a moment. Finally, Sho turned to Kyoichi, a wave of gratitude washing over him. "Kyoichi, thanks for stepping in back there. You saved me," he said sincerely, his voice filled with relief. Kyoichi returned the gesture with a playful shove. "Hey, what are friends for?" He chuckled. "Besides, who else is gonna beat you in a race after all this?" Sho laughed, the tension easing from his shoulders. "Speaking of friends," he continued, his voice laced with curiosity, "how did you even know we were down here?" Kyoichi's expression grew serious. "Let's just say a friend pointed me in the right direction." Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, his sleek Idaten cycle gleaming in the dim light. It was Kuro, a stoic expression etched on his face. Sho's eyes widened in surprise. "Kuro, what are you doing here?" Kuro, ever the man of few words, gave a curt nod. "Helping a friend," he replied simply. A flicker of emotion, perhaps concern, crossed his features for a fleeting moment before his usual stoicism returned. Sho felt a surge of warmth in his chest. Despite their past differences, it seemed Kuro had come through for them in a time of need. The unexpected arrival of their former rival added another layer of complexity to the situation. Kyoichi grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Looks like we have a lot to talk about, Sho," he said, a playful nudge in his voice. A wave of relief washed over Sho and Kyoichi as they turned and saw their friends emerge from the shadows. Ayumu and Makoto, their faces etched with worry, rushed towards them. Makoto, his eyes widening in surprise, spotted Kyoichi amidst the dust and debris. "Kyoichi?" he gasped, disbelief coloring his voice. Before Kyoichi could react, Makoto pulled him into a tight hug. "I thought we lost you," he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. Kyoichi returned the hug awkwardly, a hint of shyness creeping into his expression. "Sorry, Mako," he mumbled, "I should have let you know what I was planning." Makoto pulled back, a smile gracing his lips. "Just glad you're safe, that's all that matters." The reunion, however, was short-lived. Sho, his gaze scanning the area, noticed a crucial absence. "Wait," he said, a tremor in his voice, "where's Gabu?" Makoto, Ayumu, and Kakeru exchanged worried glances. "We haven't seen him since he said he was going to watch your race," Ayumu offered nervously. "We thought he must have followed you down here." Kyoichi, shaking his head with a sigh, muttered under his breath, "Oh no, not Gabu again." "What was I expecting?" Sho's heart pounded with a growing sense of dread. "But I haven't seen him either," he said, his voice rising in panic. "Did something happen?" Just then, a disembodied voice filled the cavern, echoing off the stone walls with an unsettling coldness. A chilling laugh followed, sending shivers down their spines. "Ha ha ha, Sho Yamato," the voice boomed, "your race with Takutso was quite a spectacle. But alas, we have one of your friends in our custody. If you want him back safe and sound, then come to the X Tower in X City." Ha 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 ha, the laughter abruptly cut off, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Sho and his friends stood frozen, the weight of the message settling upon them. "Gabu," Sho cried out, his voice filled with raw fear and anger. "He's been kidnapped." Kyoichi slapped his forehead in exasperation. "Oh no, Gabu," he muttered, shaking his head. always getting himself in trouble. The carefree afternoon had taken a sharp turn. The playful banter was replaced by a grim determination. Sho, his fists clenched tight, glared into the darkness. "We have to go save him," he declared, his voice resolute. "We're not leaving Gabu behind." Sho's blood ran cold as the cruel laughter faded. Gabu, kidnapped, panic gnawed at him, but a fierce determination quickly replaced it. "We have to save him," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "We're not leaving Gabu behind." Makoto, Ayumu, and Kakeru exchanged resolute glances. They were in this together. But a new concern flickered in Sho's eyes as he scanned the area. "Wait," he said, "where's Kuro?" A collective gasp escaped them. In the heat of the moment, they had all forgotten about Kuro's sudden presence. The spot where he stood was empty, his sleek Idaten cycle vanished. "Forget about Kuro," Sho said, urgency lacing his voice. "We need to get to X City and save Gabu." Kyoichi, his expression uncharacteristically serious, stepped forward. "Right," he agreed. "There's an exit on the east side. Follow that passage, and it'll lead you out." Sho nodded in thanks. "Thanks, Kyoichi. Let's go." But Kyoichi held up a hand, stopping them in their tracks. "Hold on," he said, a hesitant look flickering across his face. I can't come with you guys right now." Sho's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean you can't come? We need all the help we can get." Kyoichi took a deep breath. "I have something else I need to do," he explained. "Something important. But I promise," he continued, his voice firming with resolve, "I'll meet you all at the X Tower." Without waiting for another word, Kyoichi turned and disappeared into the darkness, heading towards the direction of the collapsed bridge. Sho watched him go, a wave of unease washing over him. What was Kyoichi up to? Left with no choice, Sho focused back on the task at hand. "All right team," he announced to his friends, his voice filled with determination, "let's go save Gabu." Together, Sho, Makoto, Ayumu, and their remaining Idaten cycles weaved through the debris and rubble, heading towards the eastern passage Kyoichi had mentioned. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger, but they wouldn't give up. They had to reach X City, climb the X Tower, and face whatever awaited in there. The fate of their friend, and perhaps the future of the Idaten world, depended on it.